Hey everybody, welcome back. Apologies I missed last week. It's just been so busy on so many fronts I just couldn't get to a vid. But this week at least I've been able to complete the retest of the Halo Immersive Wax. And overall it's just quite a story for that product, I think. You can see in the background I got a whole bunch of stuff going on, so there's some fun updates I'll rip into on a few tinker fronts that we're been pretty busily trying to plow through as well. Let's have a look. Right, so first you can see we have a new frame. We also have just had delivered the next industrial motor and gearbox. Holy Batman, these are a piece of kit. There's no wonder these things basically last forever. So yes, I'm aiming to have the test machine 4 built still hopefully on track by the end of February. I'm picking up a Tax Neo tomorrow, and then I've just got the bits and pieces to do. I've got to drill through another crank. I've got to make a new floating base for the motor and the coupling, and get that mounted. I need to rejig the workshop a little bit to fit a 4th machine in. I'm going to, I think I'll mount machine number 4 where my race chain break-in machine is, and I'll be able to move the race chain break-in machine down to somewhere else, because that's going to be less hammered than the test machines, which are just hammered non-stop at the moment. So, but yeah, I should be on track for end of Feb, hopefully. While I'm here doing a show and tell just for fun, differences between things. So you may have seen in the e-bike space the DJI Amflow e-bike, which I think that motor is around 1,000 watts, and it's about 2 kilo. This is a Castle Creations 1520 1650 kV RC motor. I have the same one of these mounted in an Armour Limitless, which through the Castle data logging, we're hitting sort of peaks of around 4,500 watts. However, obviously you have a fairly limited runtime, because that temperature, at least 10% of that is going to go into heating up the motor. So you are basically pumping, say, 400 watts directly into heating up the motor itself. So within a relatively short amount of time, this is going to get to around 90 degrees, and you will have sort of cut-off set in so that you don't damage the motor, so it will throttle down or cut off at around that point. So for a lot of things for duty with electric motors, thermal mass really plays a big part in how hard you can work them and for how long. So whilst this can do 4,500 watts, if I was to set it on a test machine and drive it at 250 watts, there's still going to be quite a limited length of time where it's going to be happy to do that. And obviously it has whilst it has a very high RPM, it has a very low torque. So there's going to be a lot of back EMF. These things will heat up very quickly. With something like this weighs over 9 kilograms. That's with the gearbox. The gearbox is probably going to account for about 1.5 kilos, so around about, say, a 7.5 kilogram motor that's only 375 watts. The difference is this can run for basically about 30 years non-stop. So horses for courses. You would not want to mount this in your e-bike, because it's just such a chunk. So 9.2 kilo for this motor and gearbox. It's impressive. These that I've been using for the testing, they just truck on non-stop. They're brilliant. Also just in the finally, you're never sure if you're going to get these things, but the Live Oil Picaboost 2, which I want to use just to basically adapt the my old time trial bike, which I've been using to commute into town on Wednesdays, where I do my kickboxing session, just to help me get back up the hill. So I've got all these bikes. I don't want to buy an e-bike, and whilst I do get home fine just riding myself back up the hill, normally I do a training session I will usually train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So Wednesdays I will have already done usually an 1.5 to 2 hour training ride that day, and then by the time I do get smashed in an 1.5 kickboxing session, coming back up the hill, I get home, but it does dent me a bit for Thursday. So Thursday sessions or ride has just been a little bit, let's just say, tired. So looking just for something for the commute to town and home. When I've already done my session that day, and I'm doing a second session really with the kickboxing, that I just want to zoom back up the hill with it being nice and easy. So that's what we're hoping that this will do, that I can convert one of my existing bikes to just zoom me back up the hill home. So yeah, a bit of an experiment. No idea how well this will work or not, and what issues may or may come up, either initially or over time. But it's going to be, yeah, a fun little experiment to try. I've got to say, just from the looks of it, it looks fantastic. The quality looks great, finish and everything. Like I opened the box and had a big smile. So that's a good start. I will update once I can actually get it installed. I have to get some longer bolts because I'm mounting my TT bike is not the best bike in the world to try to mount one of these, because I've got a stupid deep aero seat post. So there's going to be a little bit of faff with that. Worst comes to worst, I can abandon that plan of having mounting it to the TT bike, and I can use my old workhorse mountain bike for this. But we'll try plan A and see how that goes. But so far so good. It actually arrived, looks mega. Fingers crossed it works. I'll try to install it in the next week or so. Lastly, and also non-work related, this one, trying to get through finishing my little guy's conveyor belt for his epic marble run. It's quite a beast. It's about 1.5 meters vertical height between where it finishes and where it needs to go back. So we're getting there. We have had a little bit of fun just getting, I guess, a wheel with drive. So converting from some spare RC car parts, but I had to rig a bit of stuff for that drive shaft to reach through to the wheel. And then you need a separate axle installed on the other side with some bearings going into a wheel where they're not meant to go. So just little things have taken up a little bit of time to jury rig. We've got a brushed motor with a crawler speed controller, which just with throttle trim, this should drive quite nicely at just the pace that we want it to go. Doing my first, I just got some second-hand conveyor belts, so I've just been playing around with joining some sections up. So I've got to get the actual conveyor belt length correct, and then start gluing the hooks on. And so conveyor belt, correct length and joined up, hooks glued on. I need to mount a motor to a block that's the right height to drive the drive shaft, and then we'll be ready to test it out. So fingers crossed it all actually works. And fingers crossed I actually got the things in the right spot. I'm worried I measured things correctly, and it's a bit tricky to get it down there to double check. But hopefully I'll have it all up and running soon. The little guy's bursting to get it going, and we'll be able to send a bit of a video with it all running. Alrighty, so yeah, sorry, a couple of non-work bits in there, but it's been a lot of fun time in the Tinker realm. Hope you enjoyed those things, and I'll update on those fronts soon. Otherwise, if you weren't interested, I hope you skip straight through to the next section. So yeah, let's get on to the Halo Immersive Wax detail review. Alright, so there's a bit of a journey with this one, and I'm going to try to rip through the initial bits as quickly as I can, because I've made a couple of videos around Finish Line Halo so far. One of them focused on the marketing claims, one of them focused on really the rather interesting result after the initial testing. And so we need to just quickly knit that into today's journey and get on to how the retest has gone. So in a nutshell, the first test went extremely poorly, as in it should be impossible for an immersive wax to wear a chain that quickly, kind of poorly. And that I retested then with a new chain on a different test machine and got the exact same result. That batch of wax was then sent off to Purdue, because Josh with Silka are doing some work with a PhD student there. They've got a pretty fancy test machine set up, hoping to get some official data from all that once he's finished the PhD and gone public with his thesis. But suffice to say, their testing on that bag of Halo was also rather interesting. And Josh advised that one of the concerns initially, and I'm not going to, it's not a massive criticism for Finish Line on this, because it happens. It does help if they're open about it or admit that yes, there were some initial sort of batching issues and so on. But for instance, Josh advised me that his first bag of Halo Immersive Wax had a couple of near golf ball sized white lumps in it. So his looked relatively different to mine and had lumps in there that show a really poor mixing. And potentially whatever the white stuff was, it shouldn't be in that quantity. And it's possible, I think likely, that the initial bag that I purchased was just simply not right. Whatever was in it was not in the right proportions for the wax to work. And like everything, there can be too much of a good thing. You do need the right additives in the right amounts and so on for your product to work as you had developed it to and wanted to produce it that way. Bag number 2, I'll pull up some pics in a sec, but it definitely, especially visually, looked different to bag number 1. And yeah, for sure, the test result has been vastly different. So we've gone from an immersive wax test result where the wear rates were just off the charts to a really competitive immersive wax. So it has been just a phenomenal difference between one bag of product to another. We haven't had much feedback from Halo Wax users around the world yet. I've only had, I think it's just the two. The two that have fed back had fed back extremely high wear rates. Like basically their chain was worn to 0.5% in around 750 kilometers. That was similar for 2 different people in 2 different places in the world. So those initial feedback results kind of matched my initial test result. I am hoping, so please let me know if you've been using the product and tracking the chain wear. Hopefully things are in a good place now for this product and that you're getting great, really low wear rates, also matching the test results that we've had here. It is also worth noting that, we recently covered in the previous video some exciting outright efficiency testing being done by Bike Magazine in Germany. And the Finish Line Halo tested, again, competitively really well. So the retest, which I've had ongoing for, basically I started that just before Christmas, the test result we've seen here has been much more in line with what the Bike Magazine test has been as well. Whereas, things were just severely not right on the first bag that we purchased. So just on that, obviously, if you are using the Finish Line Halo Immersive Wax or even the wax strip, because that's going to be another thing, you would be very well to check your chain wear, because maybe you've got one of the excellent bags where things are going to go great. Maybe you have one of the more early produced bags, and again, I don't know. I can't say concretely that there's a batching issue. What I can say, though, is that, the wear rates that were achieved in the exact same benchmark test we have put a lot of waxes through were just unreal, and that the exact same test on the exact same machine on this other bag is now competitive. So, especially if you're running fairly expensive components, track your chain wear to make sure this product is performing how you are wanting it to perform. Just very quickly on batch issues, so like public ones, I guess, that I can speak about, and I've seen more than what I'll mention here. However, I know that there was, say for instance with Silka, there was a batch of Synergy which was not right, and that was sort of retaken back from importers and corrected one out. Because when I first tested Synergy, I was like, what is going on? And spoke to Josh to say, hey, just to let you know, we're testing and it's going like so bad. And they had a look themselves, and it's like, oh, yep, we need to get all these back. The first test of Ceramic Speed Wet, that went really poorly, and my experience was very similar to what Dave Rome and Ronan McLaughlin had as well, with a bottle that they'd received from Ceramic Speed. And then a retest of a different bottle or different batch of Ceramic Speed Wet, things were vastly, vastly better. I know even with, say, the Silka sealant, which is the best sealant out there, but Josh had mentioned that initially they had a bit of fun because just getting things like that, so obviously the nozzle's right, because what would happen is that over X amount of bottles, nozzles can start to clog, and you're getting less and less of your carbon fiber particles in, until it sort of enough pressure builds up that it just clears it, and then the next bottle's got like 50 times the amount. I actually happen to have one of those bottles, and it's fantastic because I've got a bottle of silica sealant which has got so much carbon particles in it that I get to put a very small amount of that in, and then some replenisher to actually make up the sealant. So my bottle of actual silica sealant is going to last me a long, long time, because I don't need to use much of it. It's about 90% particles. So, things like this happen. And it's great to see when, brands recognize it and immediately fix it, like we saw with, say, the Synergy, that was nipped in the bud straight away and sorted. With this one, I've continued to email Finish Line, and they continue to not answer me because I think I'm on their blacklist. But it would be just great if they could comment, even if it's not to me, just in general, if they had some initial batching fun. It's potential that you had a bag that's not performing as hoped because it's got too much X, or the ratios are just completely bonkers. Batches after this date or production number should be all sweet, but I don't think we're going to get that. Right, so yeah, I should, while I'm here, just cover that Silka fixed that with the sealant very quickly, and that's all been sorted for a good long while now. It was just a very initial production fun thing, which they discover, because bringing something to scale or volume production is often a journey of discovery, especially when you have a bunch of potentially tricky additives to get into the mix of things. Obviously, this is the first Immersive Wax from Finish Line, which does have some fun additives to come into the mix. I would be very surprised if they didn't embark on a bit of a journey of discovery in getting that process or production, volume production dialed, so that every bag is consistent. Because if they nailed that step one, or first go at producing such a product, that would be, I think, more the exception than if they had some initial fun. So that's what I think has gone on. And it's possible that by the nature of the additives they're claiming that they're putting in there, if you get a batch with a whole heap more than what you should have, that is potentially something that may cause a lot more wear than saving you wear. So it's the most likely explanation as to what went wrong with our first tests. So quick recap on this first section just for the journey. So you had the initial test was terrible. Retest of that from the same bag with a new chain, different machine, exact same result, terrible. And then now the retest, which I started over the Christmas holidays, of a different bag, competitive. So a whole bunch of fun there, and we'll go through the results soon. But I do need to, for just in case this is the first time you're watching a Zero Friction Cycling video, or the first Finish Line Halo video you've seen, before we get to the detailed review of the performance, we do need to quickly just go through the manufacturer's marketing claims. And I have covered this before, so if you've seen this before, then just go straight to the data. But I do need to cover the Finish Line marketing claims about this product, because they are exceptional, and exceptional in my personal opinion, not a good way. Okay, Halo Hot Wax Lubricant is engineered to dramatically improve drivetrain performance in both dry and wet conditions by 1. Significantly reducing the attraction of abrasive contaminants, 2. Delivering an unrivaled level of reduced drivetrain friction, and 3. Ensuring extreme mileage between re-lubrication intervals. 3. Elite grade ingredients deliver superior results. Highly refined paraffin creates a robust, dry to the touch coating that repels water, sheds friction causing abrasive contaminants, and virtually eliminates chain stains. Spherical tungsten, I think they mean spherical, features a proprietary hollow core to reduce vibrational friction caused by high torque pedaling. We're going to get to that. Micron size and spherical shape helps reduce sliding friction by creating a rolling effect on the surface of the chain. We're also going to get to that. Ceramic boron nitride platelets cover the chain to form a protective non-stick coating. This ceramic coating works synergistically with spherical tungsten to reduce wear and help extend the life of expensive drivetrain components. Look, And yeah, one of the marketing pages there, just drilling down a bit further on their spherical and hollow tungsten spheres that are micron sized and provide an anti-friction rolling effect and withstand high torque. Because yep, that one is just gives us so much. They also, just of note, have gone down the path of providing their bag is similar to like the Silk bag, where it's like a sous vide style bag. You can melt the wax directly in the bag, surrounded by water if you wish, as opposed to pouring it out into a pot. All right, I have to take Finish Line to task a bit here, and I don't like to do so because it looks like they've hopefully made a really good product, which is, you know, we're in a very different place now than after the first test, that's for sure. But, I mean, part of what I do is obviously assessing the chain lubricants versus their marketing claims, and hopefully, obviously, we want to have really good lubricants matching some accurate marketing claims. I don't think it helps the consumer public or the cyclists in general if marketing claims are potentially just utter BS, even if the product itself is good. It's I guess it's worse if the claims are BS and the product's BS. But overall, this is just such, lubricants in cycling. We're constantly fighting such a big battle around potentially ludicrous marketing claims that are completely unsubstantiated, that if a manufacturer is helping put out marketing claims that just, I guess, are designed to bamboozle, and also it's hard to see that they are remotely accurate, it doesn't help. I'd like to see marketing claims for products just be in line with physics, reality, sanity, and just, keep things in the realms of being reasonable, because otherwise, where does it stop? What's going to happen next is someone comes out with a lubricant that's got, micro flux capacitors and dilithium crystals in it to help propel the miniature antimatter drives inside the molecules. Like, this is trending more towards that side of things than just some keep it real with claims that actually make sense. So for one, and apologies if I've covered this before, on videos you've seen before, but in short, it is disputed by myself, and I'm not going to be alone on this, that if the spheres are micron sized and they are hard enough or strong enough that they are able to remain spherical and hollow under the literal thousands to tens of thousands of PSI loads that they're going to be under on the very small parts of your chain under your pedaling load, that will vastly exceed the strength of the metal, and these would carve furrows or gouges into the metal surface. You could basically not add anything more abrasive than micron size particles that are hard enough and strong enough to resist that pressure, such that they are able to hold their shape. There is just no way that I can see, based on the simplest physics, that this claim can possibly be correct. You will note that basically everybody else claiming that they have tungsten additives are talking about platelets, and these platelets are soft. These soft platelets fill in the asperities and create a better surface on the metal, and it's a low friction particle to help with the sliding of the parts in your chain. You cannot have ball bearings of micron size under these pressures. Again, it just simply will vastly exceed the strength of the metal. Part two on this. So their whole claim around reducing, helping improve efficiency by reducing high torque vibration. What are they talking about? So this is the first time that I've ever heard chain vibration and improved efficiency come up as a marketing claim angle. Perhaps others exist out there, but I haven't heard of it before. So if they want to substantiate that claim, they are going to need to show us some data for where they've been able to measure the vibration in the chain. under what cadences, or is it high cadence, low cadence? So is it just the lower cadences and higher tension loads? Something. And then they're going to need to somehow equate to us the amount of vibration they were able to measure, and then how much vibration they were able to reduce with their proprietary hollow tungsten spheres, and then equate that to an efficiency loss difference for us. So what was the efficiency loss initially from vibration within the chain? Is it a watt? Is it 0.1 watt? Is it 0.01 of a watt? I don't think anybody has been able to quantify the efficiency losses going on in the chain from vibration from high torque pedaling, and then to be able to demonstrate a saving on whatever that is by reducing chain vibration by how much. They haven't even said how much they've reduced chain vibration by. Like, it's a claim that's just, to me, getting into the biggest unsubstantiated utter fantasy land than really we've ever seen since, I think, Presticycle's bearing grease that's also a degreaser. Like, to me, it's just, this kind of stuff is just absolutely bonkers. Working synergistically with ceramics. So, I mean, ceramics a whole thing. As you know, if you follow me for a bit, there so far has not been any substantiation that adding ceramic or boron nitride to a lubricant has improved it. It may. It's just that it hasn't been substantiated. We haven't seen, to date, a ceramic lubricant perform well in testing. So you would think that if the ceramic is doing what they're claiming to do, which is coat the metal with this nice ceramic coating protecting it from wear, that we would see a lot of ceramic lubricants really dominating the league table, and just, everyone kind of noticing that, hey, yeah, you buy this, X ceramic lubricant and I'm getting a really great chain and component lifespan. We are not seeing that for finish line ceramic dry. We're not seeing that for Markov C3 ceramic. We're not seeing that for anything ever that I've seen of a product that has ceramic in it. How is the ceramic suspended in liquid forming an actual protective coating? Can that coating, stand up to when the lubricant base itself is attracting contamination, which is becoming part of the lubricant, and that abrasive contamination is now being pressed into your coating under thousands and tens of thousands of psi? Are you telling us that that coating is able to withstand that and not allow that abrasive contamination to wear on the chain metal? It's just a whole bunch of, I really don't think so. No one has ever substantiated it. So until that's done, still putting claims around ceramic additives with an enormous question mark. And how much ceramic additives is being put into this product? Is it achieving what they're saying that it's achieving? And how do the ceramic particles actually work synergistically with the spherical tungsten is, to me, still somewhat unclear. Again, we have what is hopefully consistently going to be now a really good product out there on the market, and that's great. But I just don't believe that the reason why it's a great product has anything to do with any of this. It's most likely just because it's a great wax base. Now, Finish Line can obviously prove me incorrect about this and make me look like an idiot. Finish Line, show me how particles that are micron size and strong enough and hard enough to remain spherical and hollow do not in fact, or would not in fact, exceed the surface strength of the metal and just carve themselves into it and be extremely abrasive. Tell us more about the efficiency increases from reducing chain vibration. Where's the testing and the data on that? How much are we talking about here? How have you managed to actually conduct this testing? Tell us more about, or show some more substantiation of what the ceramic is doing. So do we have some testing for the Halo Wax sans the ceramic additive and its performance? And then where's the Halo Wax test with the ceramic additives? And tell us more about how the ceramic and the hollow spherical micron-sized tungsten spheres are working synergistically, because it's not obvious to me how that is actually happening. It just sounds like it's a nice word to throw in there. A quick look at something just around the particle size and pressures. Quick look at some damage to bearing races. This is some stuff that was sent to me by Ceramic Speed a long time ago. soft particles on the left, elastomers, plastics and wood, hard steel particles in the middle. They're actually smaller indentations, but sort of smaller and sharper, and hard mineral particles on the right from, say, sand. Now, these particles were basically around 50 micron size. That's going to be at least sort of 50 times larger than the particle sizes of the proprietary hollow tungsten spheres being used by Finish Line. So now again, the bearing races are also likely to be thicker and more hardened than the metal in your chain links. Chain link steel is generally quite thin, and whilst it's pretty good stuff, like it's the higher quality or higher level chains, it's amazing steel, but there's only so much they can harden it before there's a risk of it being too brittle for what we need it to be in a bicycle chain, where obviously you do not want the chain to snap. So overall, you can harden bearing races to a much harder level than you would potentially want to go with your chain link metal. So 50 micron sized particles are doing this to what is likely to be harder steel and thicker steel. Then you can imagine what micron sized particles that are hard enough to remain spherical and hollow would be doing to your chain metal surface, and it would be nothing good. I mean, it would just immediately be carving out its own asperities or troughs and furrows in the surface of the metal. Again, I just couldn't imagine putting anything more abrasive into your lubricant than micron-sized particles that are hard enough and strong enough to retain their shape, as opposed to soft platelets. And that's, for me, the concern that, I guess, loops all the way back to the potential batching issues. Like, it is not unheard of for lubricant manufacturers and lubricants to, I guess, place a very token amount of something into a lubricant product so that they can claim that the product has it in there, such as, say, ceramic. A lot of ceramic lubricants, you don't know how, or we don't know how much, boron nitride particles they put in there. It could be the tiniest amount, token amount, so that they can just claim that it's a ceramic lube for the marketing, and that's why, at the end of the day, the ceramic lubricant's not doing any better than any other lubricant that doesn't have ceramic in it, and for a lot of them, they haven't tested great at all. So potentially, we don't know. Maybe there is an amount of ceramic particles and proprietary hollow tungsten spheres in the Halo wax that they have put through some very rigorous and robust testing of their own to determine the absolute great ratio that delivers, better performance versus not having the additives in the base wax. It could be that there's just a token amount in there to claim it, and the less in there, the better, because potentially one of them is abrasive. And it could be that if initially you got a bag with a whole bunch more in there than what should be in there, is that why we saw extremely high wear rates in the first couple of tests that I did here, and initial feedback that we've seen from a couple of others, and some interesting results from what we sent across to Purdue as well. I don't know, but just the whole thing around these tungsten spheres makes zero sense at all. It's more concerning than, wow, that could be really something. I wonder how much they're putting in there. And just the initial results or the test results we had were unreal, like should not be possible. The wear rates for the first two tests for that first bag of Halo wax, we had higher wear than the test that I did with zero lubrication. So that should not be possible. The only way that could happen is if the product was actually actively abrasive, which is kind of more in line with the concerns we have. So the whole claims around this Halo product, to me, are the most concerning claims, really, or claims that don't make sense at all of anything ever. And that's saying something, considering that we've already covered Presticycle. Right, my apologies before we get to the test results. One last thing with these damn spheres. During the call with Finish Line, they also presented me with a diagram and page showing how they are also exfoliating layers. So there's just one last element to cover. So let's just wrap our heads around here. We have micron size tungsten spheres that are hollow. So they are improving your efficiency via a rolling effect. because you have, in essence, as per their claims, basically tiny ball bearings that are somehow not abrasive at micron size. They are also improving the chain's efficiency by reducing high torque vibration by being hollow. So that's part of their proprietary claim there. And they are, whilst doing those two things, also exfoliating layers to do stuff for the metal surface. I couldn't get during the call, so I know you can pack a lot of layers into things, but how many layers do these micron size hollow spheres have to give until they have exfoliated themselves into non-existence? And when that happens, does that impact anything around the initial claims or the other claims for the improvement in efficiency from a rolling effect, and also from the reduction in chain vibration by having hollow spheres in there? Do these spheres, can they keep exfoliating layers for 400 kilometers of cycling, or is it 10 minutes? I mean, remember that your chain links are going through a lot of high pressure load cycles very quickly as you're pedaling along. You're doing 20,000 to 40,000 link articulations a minute as you're cycling down the road. How many cycle loads can these spheres exfoliate a layer until they're gone, and then impact on the other aspects of the magic stuff that it's doing? Couldn't really get anywhere on that. And just overall, look, I know I'm not the smartest guy out there, but obviously I have spoken to others who know a lot more about everything than I do in this space, and to date, no one can really wrap their head around what is going on with these claims. And it's just, for me, the average cyclist is going to look at the marketing claims by Finish Line and see, cool, this lubricant has these awesome micron-sized ball bearings in there that do this wonderful stuff. And they're not going to think twice about it. They're just going to think that's awesome. And that is no doubt Finish Line's marketing angle. But obviously on any sort of one level deeper thought and scrutiny beyond that, beyond what they're aiming for with just your average person going in to buy it, things just get really bonkers really quickly. And I just get really concerned about marketing claims, or just marketing in general, going in directions like this where you can type out what, in my personal view at this time, until Finish Line proved me wrong, a whole bunch of just utter impossible nonsense that is completely unsubstantiated by them in any way at all. It concerns me. So even though it looks like we've got hopefully a great product, the marketing claims around this product really drive me nuts. I get that they don't want to go into that just on their first page around the product, but for sure, if you're going to put out extraordinary claims like this, there should be a paper that we can all go to off their website and have a deep read and understand what is going on and what sits behind the claims that they're making, because as it stands, bugger me, like it's just nuts. I have some new graphs, but also just done a quick revamp all up on the main data page, which is uploaded on the website. Sorry, it's cut off here just on this little screen record, which I set for the graphs. I've basically just reworded some things around, better explainer, but I've changed the percentage wear to how many chains are being worn, because people just still struggle with percentages and what does 223% mean. I don't get it, and not everyone's going to read the explainers. So changing it to just simply look 100% wear equals a chain worn. So I'm just literally swapped that to a number to say this is how many chains have been worn within that time, which will hopefully help improve things just for the average viewer. All right, in the main test, Finish Line Halo over here in yellow came out with 0.24 chains worn. So it only wore basically 1/4 of a chain's wear allowance to 0.5% wear mark across the 5,000 kilometers of the main test. So that is overall very, very good. We can see that the average of the top 5 immersive waxes tested is 0.16, so it's still slightly outside the top 5 across the 5,000k main test. It is better than the average of the median, I should say, for all immersive waxes tested, and it's nicely ahead of the top 5 wax strips, the medium for wax strips, and wet lubricants obviously struggle to compete against the top wax stuff. So all up, Finish Line Halo is 6 out of 12 immersive waxes tested and 6 out of 53 lubricant tests that I can post. Moving to dry off-road conditions, we have Finish Line Halo with like having worn through, if I basically extrapolate that 1,000 kilometer dry contamination test block out to 5,000 kilometers, across 5,000 kilometers, it would have worn through 0.36 of a chain. So again, still very, very good. Still a little bit behind the other top immersive waxes tested. So it was actually in 12th out of, 9th out of 12 immersive waxes tested and 15th out of 53 lubricants tested overall. So a little bit of a slip down just in the dry contamination block. However, still ahead of most other categories. Interestingly, it was still a little bit behind the top 5 wax drip lubricants tested to date. So there is something with dry off-road conditions that it's just not quite matching the best stuff tested out there. However, we are still talking overall pretty small numbers here. If you only wear through basically a third of your chain wear allowance across 5,000 kilometers of sort of off-road, dry off-road conditions, you're going to be pretty happy. So it's just that the best stuff ever tested is really quite something. Moving to wet conditions, this is where the Halo wax really started to shine. So it's moved from 9th out of 12 in the dry contamination block through to 5th out of 12 in wet contamination block 4. And then obviously 5th place out of 53 lubricants tested overall. So still, like if I extrapolate the 1,000 kilometer test block over 5,000 kilometers, this is in the wet conditions block 4. Only wearing through half of the chain's wear allowance in sort of 5,000 kilometers of that. That is a very, very good result. So was a really strong performer once we started to move to wet conditions, and in the extreme conditions, it is in second place. So only one other immersive wax product has tested better than the Finish Line Halo in the extreme conditions test block. So extrapolating that 1,000 kilometer extreme conditions test out to 5,000 kilometers, it still didn't wear through the full chain wear allowance, or wouldn't have worn through. So wet, harsh conditions, the Halo wax is outstanding. So that is really something worth noting, because sometimes some of the immersive waxes can be brilliant in the dry, but comparatively struggle a bit more in the wet, especially sort of we saw with some of the graphene-based immersive waxes. It's just worth noting that if you ride a lot in wet, the Halo wax could actually be a really good option. Just a quick end of test pick. So this is the end of extreme contamination block 6 after 6,000 kilometers of testing, and overall, after all of that distance and number of re-waxes, we can see things are still looking pretty clean. And also bearing in mind it's had a whole lot of stuff thrown at it across that 6,000 Ks. So claims around cleanliness all up are pretty accurate. I would say it's slightly dirtier than some of the other immersive waxes. It's a little bit softer. So there's a little bit more build up, but not much. It's still, you're going to be pretty happy if your chain's looking like that after 6,000 Ks of riding, and you can see there's not a huge amount of build up on the chain rings. It's a good, clean product. Just while we're here, see if we can spot any difference between, this is a picture of the first bag of Halo wax that I tested. So that's exactly how it came out of the bag into the pot. It's very clumpy, and it just has a different kind of look to, I guess, the granularity, shall we say. That's a word I didn't know I was going to use today. As opposed to, let's have a look at this one. This is the second bag, and that is exactly how it came out of the bag and into the pot. To me, it just looks, noticeably different. And we really got noticeably different test results. So just looping all the way back to what I covered initially about potential batching issues. Don't know. Would be great if Finish Line could talk to us a bit more about it, even if it isn't to me. But this is a different product in my mind to this. No doubt about it. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to, and I won't be able to get to doing the single application longevity testing for this wax at the moment. I will keep it aside and hope to get to it in the not too distant future, but testing at the moment is just, we are booked up the wazoo, and I want to get through the retest of the Halo drip wax because the initial test of the Halo drip wax was even more off the charts bonkers bad than the initial test of the Immersive Wax. So the Halo drip wax, unfortunately, at the moment has the by far the highest wear rate ever recorded for a lubricant test. And I would love for the retest to hopefully have a similar change in result as to what we've seen with the initial retest, or the retest, sorry, of the Immersive Wax. So I need to get that done. So that's going to be the next test queued up as soon as I can get that test machine reset. And then, yeah, I've just got bookings absolutely up the wazoo and more coming in or looking to start all the time. So this is the single application longevity testing for this is likely something that is going to get done after I've tested, say, the dynamic hyper and wonder wax on test machine 4. My impression, so on a test machine it's not the same as writing, however I do get to get pretty good indications just from sound and feel as to how the chain is. My impressions are that this is going to be really long lasting, and especially really long lasting in wet conditions versus quite a number of competitors. Post the, especially I guess it was most noticeable because a lot of these top immersive waxes are not being stretched at all in no contamination block 1, dry contamination block 2, and no contamination block 3. Their treatment lifespan is just not being pushed at all. Sometimes once we start adding water and contamination, chains are starting to sound and feel dry towards the end of the intervals in contamination block 4, and especially in it's more noticeable in the extreme contamination block 6. So when a product is or the chain is still sounding and feeling really smooth at the end of those intervals, especially in extreme block 6, that's a really strong indication that it's going to hang on very well in wet conditions, in real world conditions as well. And the finish line, or the Halo wax there, was running beautifully still at the end of even the intervals in the extreme contamination block 6. So along with the really very impressively low wear rates in that test block, I think this really is, pending no batching or potential batching issues, potentially one of the top immersive waxes for harsh wet conditions writing that we've sort of seen and tested on the market at the moment. That's its real strong point. And as well as it's, I think it's going to show up in the single application longevity test in those conditions as well. So I really do want to get to that testing and get that result sort of concretely done. But even without that, I feel very confident in saying that the Halo wax will have very good longevity, especially in wet conditions versus many of its competitors. So that's a real plus for the finish line Halo product. All right, so as a wrap, we have something I'm, really very, very pleased about. For a long time, I have, held concerns that most of Finish Line's product lineup is extremely dated and not that competitive. What was great in 1988 or 1990 may not be that competitive against products that have had a lot of R&D and come to market in the last 5 years, and that are just simply about 25 plus years more modern. There are not many product categories in the world where what was competitive circa 3 decades ago is still competitive in that category today. Finish Line moving to as a legacy brand, stepping into what I will class as a modern product lineup with a immersive wax, a proper wax emulsion drip. They also have a Halo wet lube, which we'll get to in the future. But just stepping into this product category, and now that hopefully, if it was a batching issues resolved, what is an actual great product in an immersive wax category, I love to see a legacy brand like Finish Line stepping into that space and delivering. And the key takeaway from the test really is that it's really in the wet condition side of things. That's where this product really looks to excel versus its key competitors. Big concerns around obviously the marketing as to how Halo is doing what it's doing, and that's something that if we ever get movement on from Finish Line about if they wish to explain and substantiate their marketing claims better so that we don't class those marketing claims as just utter BS, that would be fantastic. I mean, just Finish Line, come out, explain it, prove me that I'm an idiot and too stupid to understand what their marketing claims are. That'll be a win-win for them. Great product, accurate marketing claims. I'm an idiot. Perfect. Please do that. So yeah, that's pretty much a wrap. I say if you have been using the Finish Line Halo Immersive Wax or the wax strip, please track your chainwear to make sure you have a good bag like I've tested on the second batch here, and not one that is performing for you like the first bag of Immersive Wax or Halo Wax Strip that we tested initially last year, which was extremely concerning. All right, that better do. Sorry, as always, for the length, but yeah, I know I was coming up with something, but there was a bit of a journey with this one, from obviously the initial testing to this retesting, going through the whole marketing utter madness, in my opinion, until they prove me that I'm the idiot. And yeah, all the way through to seeing that we actually have now a really strong product from a legacy brand in a great space. So fantastic. All right, yeah, if you like the work that we're doing here, please like and subscribe and put in some positive engagement. That really, really helps. Have a great weekend of cycling. Hopefully I'll see some of you down at the first round of the Port Adelaide time trial this weekend, and you can see Mr. Non-Aero Windsock, which is me, going nowhere fast. But we'll look forward to having a good fun TT. And yeah, I'll try to be back next week, but yeah, with the amount of stuff we've got on all fronts, I'll be a little bit hit and miss on getting to the vids. Anyway, till the next one, look forward to your comments and input, and yeah, chat to you again soon.